Welcome to this overview of the Fighting Words online module on creativity and creative writing in education, developed in partnership with Dublin City University. This is a snapshot of the full online module on creativity and creative writing available for student teachers and educators. Creativity and creative writing provide benefits for children in terms of literacy, numeracy and oracy, as well as beneficial outcomes in terms of social and emotional development. And it can be a transformative driver in children's lives. In this summary, you will see teachers, writers, researchers and students talking about their experiences of creativity and creative writing in the classroom. And we trust that you will find this summary interesting, practical and useful in your teaching.
And one of the motivations for us, for Roddy and I, when we started with Fighting Words, was the absence of any space within the curriculum for creativity in general, particularly creative writing. And that wasn't because teachers didn't want it, it wasn't because students didn't want it, it was just the structure. And we thought, if anything, if Ireland is actually brilliant at anything for centuries, it's writing, it's storytelling. You know, it's a huge kind of inherent natural talent we have as a country, and yet it didn't, and still to a degree doesn't really feature in our formal curriculum. So we just thought, well, let's make it available.
What we tried to do at the very beginning is to make the whole situation as inviting as possible. So it's a shared experience at first. The students work at a screen. They see their words going up on the screen, shared words, in that one student will suggest one sentence, another will carry it on and suggest another, or a group of students might form a little dialogue and it'll go up on the screen, and then the whole class builds on that dialogue, gives the characters names, for example, decides where they are. It's a little bit of theatre in the classroom. And it is. I've never known it not to be fun, and I've observed it so often now that it should be tedious, and it never is. You know, really, really never is. Also, I think what the students get an awful lot out of, particularly older ones, but I think they all do, when they come away from the screens and start working on their own stories, to observe their peers doing the same thing, but not in a uniform way. To watch some of them filling pages really quickly and others pondering and writing slow sentences, and to realise that this is grand, this is fine. So what the teacher and the mentors say in Fighting Words do is make the whole thing as inviting, as pleasant, as calm, as enjoyable as it possibly can be.
It seemed to me a no-brainer that if we could embed some of the Fighting Words principles, the Fighting Words magic even, into that process of preparing teachers, the long-term impact on the children and young people that those teachers would work with, and the young adults and the adult learners, and on the teachers themselves, that would be powerful. I think the message to teachers is you can be a creative and engaged teacher in everything that you do.
When we looked at the development of literacy, the love of English, the academic development, certainly were dimensions that emerged from it, but they were only a portion, and possibly, I would say, not the most important one. There was very much a development of confidence in those who participate, a sense of empowerment, sense of voice, and sense of being able to achieve something that they thought was beyond their means, was beyond their ability. And I think this idea that really kind of emerged very strongly was that everybody can be creative in a very, in different ways, according to their own interest, in their ability to express themselves.
This self-confidence and self-esteem then seemed to just engender this kind of a can-do attitude. where because they experienced and tasted success in one particular domain, it was almost like it had that domino effect in that they felt that they could then equally be as just as successful at something else, that if they were able to draw on their own kind of inner strength and resilience to apply themselves, to see something through to completion, all those things that they learned in the creative writing process, that they were kind of had internalized these and saw how they could now use them in other areas and apply that same kind of thinking to other spheres.
I think with secondary school kids, it takes them a little while to trust the fact that they can write what they want to.
Yeah.
You know, they really do dive into it, and they write the most extraordinary stuff, the most brilliant stuff. And there's nobody telling them, no, that's not grammatical, that's wrong. And it's just great. And of course, the further they go into it then, the more they own it, the more disciplined they become, and they want to make sure it's as good as it possibly can be. And I find it myself, it's quite exhilarating, not just exhilarating and enjoyable, but inspiring.
So what I enjoy most about the Fighting Words module is that exact thing that you're talking about, that children getting so engrossed in their own voice and coming up with their own idea and their own vision of what they want to write, as opposed to, oh, you should be following a rule book, or you should be doing it a different way. I love that.
Yeah.
Sometimes as a teacher or as an adult, you don't realise how important your moment might be for a kid. And I think of when I was 7 years old and we were asked to write a poem in school, and I put the poem up on the wall with all the other poems and we to do some art with it. And I remember that being the exact moment that I went, that's what I want to do forever. And that's the only thing I've ever wanted to do, and it's the only thing I can just about do. I'm completely useless to everything else. But it's funny because, you know, that one moment, that just turned out to be the spark for me, and you don't know what that will be for a kid.
You know, everyone has a unique personal voice, and it's so lovely to hear creative work from your students for that reason, because I think you get to know them a little bit better, you get to know them on a different level. So it's not about whether it's good or bad, it's just kind of getting to know them a bit better and sharing, and the development, the personal development that comes through that.
But also from the point of view of their self-esteem, the culture of trust you've built in the classroom, and just the value of their voice and the fact that they feel that their voice, as you said, has been listened to is just incredible.
I've had experiences over the years of a student who may never really speak up in class, but that will pipe up in a workshop, and you can see other students' reactions. You know, they haven't heard the student share anything either. And like those moments are really important as well. So to let the discipline go as well as a teacher, it can be hard and daunting walking in there having never done it before. But yeah, just let a little more freedom is so important for the kind of social aspect of it as well.
Creativity and like creative writing is really beneficial to like everyone, even if you're not like an amazing writer. Like there's so much, because you were talking about earlier how it's like so therapeutic as well, especially when you're like younger, to try and like process feelings and emotions and just have a creative space and a creative outlet.
Being a student teacher, it's an amazing thing, because there's a bunch of keys there and you have to keep on trying different ones. But when you find that key and you open an experience for a child, my God, the directions they can go in. You know, and I think it's so important to sometimes put down the red pen and find the quality of the idea, or find a way to encourage it, and not look to correct the mistakes, but to celebrate the mistakes, because they're the pathway to finding the answer to the next thing.
I think when you're in a space and you know that there's this kind of buzz of young people at work, creating, chatting to one another, interacting, bouncing ideas off each other, there is a feeling in the room, and it is lovely, and you know that something really good is happening.
It's for you, the teacher, to give yourself the space to not worry about the outcome. We can be really invested and really defensive of the outcomes of our students in the classroom. And that's a really good thing. It's really important that your students do well. You should aim for that. But if you are worried about whether or not the story is good or bad, your students are going to be trying to guess what you want them to say. And you're kind of starting to break into the process. So it's to set up some very basic ground rules for them, and then some ground rules for yourself. That you don't have an ending that they need to get to. That, you know, you might think it'd be really cool if they did a penguin, but it is okay if they do a toothbrush. And try and keep yourself a little bit out of the process, and trust that the students will find a story that they enjoy. And so long as they've enjoyed it, that was the success that you were looking for.
Thank you for watching this overview of the Fighting Words online module on creativity and creative writing in education. We know that being creative is an outcome for all children in Ireland, set by the Department of Education and the NCCA, and this online module will help teachers and student teachers to contribute to achieving that outcome. We hope that you will have found this summary interesting and that you'll join us for the full online module.